In 1905, employees of Henry Flagler began construction of a house in West Palm using leftover wood from one of Flagler's hotels. When complete, the building was painted with bright colors and served as a funeral parlor for Woodlawn Cemetery, the first cemetery in West Palm Beach. One of its first employees was a man known only as Buck. One night, during an argument in town, Buck was killed, but has been seen numerous times at the cemetery, continuing to carry out his caretaker duties. In 1920, Carl Riddle became the city manager, a position that included being supervisor of Woodlawn, and moved into the house. It did not take long for Riddle to notice strange occurrences in his home, missing items later being found in odd places, voices and footsteps being heard, employees reporting being touched by unseen entities, and the sightings of Buck around the property led Riddle to write about the occurrences in his diary. Riddle lived in this home for several years, enduring the spiritual disturbances, filling his diaries with stories, until another employee of the cemetery met a fatal end. A man known only as Joseph was having money troubles and could find no solution to his woes. One day he entered the Riddle residence, went to the attic, and hung himself from the rafters. Unexplained events occurred more often and were more terrifying after the death of Joseph. Employees, comfortable seeing Buck on the grounds and accepting the fact their tools were not always where they were left, now had to contend with shadows following them and visions of Joseph's body still hanging in the attic. They became afraid to work on the site, and soon Riddle had no employees left to care for the cemetery. Eventually, the entire Riddle family would leave the premises, unable to stand living with the unseen, unsettled entities linked to the property. For many years, the house was inhabited by assorted families. Several different businesses tried to set up inside the home. Even Palm Beach Atlantic College attempted to use the house as a female dormitory, but no one could tolerate the spirited antics of the inhabiting entities for long. In 1995, Palm Beach County finally decided to demolish the house, but Carl Riddle's nephew, John, had a different idea. He asked the city to donate the home to him, and he would move it to Yesteryear Village, where other historic homes had been moved to or recreated within. The city granted his request, and the Riddle home was disassembled and moved to the other side of town. The spirits attached to this property were not pleased by this upheaval. Construction crews reported their tools being thrown about, ladders being knocked over, and windows shattering for no apparent reason. They worked quickly to finish construction on the Riddle house. Visitors to Yesteryear Village and the Riddle house affirm the supernatural entities are still very active, continuing to engage in the activities that drove Carl Riddle and his family and employees from the house so many years ago.